Welcome to Fast Tracking the Day of God, a podcast for those that think we should stop delaying the eternal blessings our Creator has for His children. For those that yearn for the day when evil, pain, and suffering will disappear for good. If you don't care about speeding Jesus' return, this podcast might not be your cup of tea. However, if you want to revive your interest in preparing yourself for the day when eternity materializes, this presentation is for you. Daniel 2 presents us one of the most powerful prophecies of the whole Bible, an impressively accurate sequence of historical events. This method, used by the Protestant reformers, allows for historical validation of the prophetic word. The historicist approach offers a profound lens for interpreting biblical prophecy, particularly books like Daniel and Revelation, by viewing them as a continuous, unfolding narrative of history, from the prophet's time until the end. This approach provides unparalleled relevance for every generation of believers, unlike preterism, which largely confines prophetic fulfillment to the distant past, like, for example, the 1st century before Christ. Historicism shows God's ongoing involvement and control throughout the Christian era. Conversely, it avoids the pitfalls of futurism, which often places most significant fulfillments into a speculative, distant future, potentially diminishing prophecy's current impact. Historicism underscores God's enduring sovereignty over all ages, demonstrating how He orchestrates major historical events, from the rise and fall of empires to significant religious and political shifts in fulfillment of His divine plan. As we have mentioned earlier, all 66 books of the Bible are intertwined and part of one story, what we need to reconnect with God. In Genesis 1 and 2, we read about God's original plan for mankind, plan that gets derailed when the first couple decided to distrust God, and by doing that, they handed over almost everything God had entrusted them to a character described just as the serpent. In Genesis 3, we see how this planet becomes the enemy's domain, and how what God warned Adam, death becomes a reality. He notifies Adam and Eve of this plan to rescue them from their captor, a plan based not in force and coercion, but in love and trust. So from Genesis 3 to Revelation 20, we see how God develops and executes this rescue plan. Jesus overcame evil. He displayed the truth about God and unmasked the devil and demonstrated that God can be trusted. Trust precedes and anticipates worship. All over the Bible, we see how trust and worship are like two sides of the same coin. Worship expresses our trust, our thankfulness, and our admiration for our Creator. Worship reflects our acknowledgement that there is no better way than God's ways. Despite the revelation that God gave to King Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2, that he was the head of gold, and after him other powers will follow, in chapter 3, we see how he wanted to change that. He erected a 90 feet, 30 meters tall, golden statue. Just like Lucifer used doubt and lies to entrap 1/3 of the angels, Nebuchadnezzar employed coercion and death threats to force veneration for his monumental idol. Everything seemed to go as planned, except for 3 nonconformists that decided to stand on their knowledge of God. When they were called to account, they expressed their trust in the Creator, a trust that goes well beyond a public statement, a confidence that transcends life itself. After all, our existence, what we call life, without choosing God, is not more than a pre-corpse state. Only when we put our complete trust in God, we have things in the right perspective. Revelation 13 informs us that a similar situation would arise. A power described as the beast commands to worship his image, a creature forcing under penalty of death to do something against God's clear instructions. Worship extends beyond traditional acts like bowing or offering incense. It encompasses whatever commands our deepest loyalty. Considering God as our Creator and, through Jesus, our Redeemer, it is evident that He alone deserves our worship. To worship anything less is to engage in idolatry. Joining Jesus' team and persevering till the end ensures our eternal destiny. Send us an email to indestructiblekindness@gmail.com. Not only in the Hebrew Bible and the book of Revelation, we find these precursors to final events. First-century Christians faced significant challenges, enduring animosity from fellow religionists who viewed them as a threat to Mosaic faith, and the wrath of the pagan Roman Empire, which viewed Christians as atheists who threatened Rome's stability. When we place our complete trust in God, we cultivate a tikva, a hope, a certainty founded on evidence that can effectively eradicate all traces of fear, including the fear of death. As Christians, we understand that if we die trusting God, our next conscious experience will be seeing the face of our beloved Savior. The crucial element lies in knowing God. That is what makes all the difference. Regardless of what lies ahead, be it a time of trouble, the mark of the beast, or even the death decree, our complete trust must be placed in God and His Word. Any other path will lead to utter failure and shame. The most effective way to prepare for future challenges is to take responsibility for our own lives. By not fully engaging in God's work, we demonstrate a disregard for His guidance and His plan for our restoration. To ignore His pleadings is to choose the mark of the beast, aligning ourselves with the creature rather than the Creator. For those who commit themselves to trusting God, last-day events can be challenging. However, we should ultimately approach these events with tikva, a certainty founded on knowing God and fully trusting Him. Where this biblical hope, tikva, certainty based in evidence, is present, there is no room for fear. Trust and fear are inversely proportional. As trust grows, fear recedes, and conversely, as trust diminishes, fear advances. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity or cowardice or fear. He has given us a spirit of power and of love, and of sound judgment, as well as personal discipline, abilities that result in a calm, well-balanced mind and self-control. Understanding prophecy is meaningless without affirming our trust in God. The true purpose of exploring the future is to strengthen our faith in God, to the point of allowing Him to restore His image within us. While being aware of history's final events is important, it won't be enough without cultivating Jesus' caring and selfless mindset. We shouldn't base our faith on current events, which can change in an instant. Instead, we must be part of God's solution, not the problem. Join us.